Jeffrey Epstein's story is often called one of America's biggest scandals because it mixed money, power, and serious criminal accusations. Epstein was a wealthy financier who moved in elite social circles, meeting famous politicians, business leaders, and celebrities. For years, he lived a glamorous lifestyle that seemed impossible to question. However, behind the luxury and influence, authorities later uncovered disturbing claims about abuse and exploitation. These claims shocked the public and raised questions about how such activities could continue for so long without strong legal consequences. Many people began to wonder whether powerful connections helped protect Epstein from early investigation and punishment. Epstein started his career in finance, building strong relationships with rich clients. Although his exact business methods were often unclear, he gained a reputation for managing large investments. His growing wealth allowed him to purchase expensive properties in places like New York, Florida, and a private island in the Caribbean. These locations later became central to investigations. Reports suggested that many young girls were brought to these properties. Over time, law enforcement agencies began receiving complaints, but early cases moved slowly. Critics later argued that Epstein's influence and connections may have played a role in delaying serious legal action against him. The first major public attention came during the early 2000s when police in Florida received reports from families claiming their teenage daughters were recruited to meet Epstein. The allegations described disturbing situations involving exploitation and illegal behavior. Investigators began collecting statements from victims, and the case slowly grew stronger. However, many victims claimed they faced fear, pressure, and confusion while trying to speak out. The sensitive nature of the accusations made investigations difficult. Despite mounting evidence, the legal process faced delays and complications. Many observers later questioned whether authorities could have acted faster to protect the victims. In 2008, Epstein faced legal charges related to soliciting minors. However, the case ended with a controversial plea agreement. Epstein served only a short prison sentence and received work release privileges that allowed him to leave jail during the day. This agreement shocked many legal experts and victims' families. They believed the punishment was too light compared to the seriousness of the accusations. Later investigations revealed that federal prosecutors had considered stronger charges but reached a deal instead. This decision became one of the biggest controversies in the entire Epstein case and led to years of criticism toward the justice system. After Epstein's release, he returned to his wealthy lifestyle, continuing to socialize with powerful figures. Many people questioned how he managed to rebuild his social life so quickly. Reports showed that several high-profile individuals still associated with him. This raised serious public concerns about accountability and moral responsibility. Meanwhile, victims continued to speak about their experiences. Advocacy groups supported survivors and pushed for reopening investigations. The public slowly began paying closer attention to Epstein's past. Journalists started digging deeper, uncovering information that had not received much attention during earlier legal proceedings. Journalistic investigations played a major role in bringing Epstein's story back into public discussion. Investigative reporters uncovered details suggesting that many victims were not informed properly about the 2008 plea deal. Some reports claimed that prosecutors failed to follow laws requiring victims to be notified about legal agreements. This discovery sparked anger and calls for justice reform. Victims felt their voices were ignored during important legal decisions. These findings pushed authorities to reopen investigations and reconsider earlier legal actions. Public trust in the legal process was seriously shaken as more information became available. The case took another dramatic turn in 2019 when Epstein was arrested again on federal charges related to sex trafficking of minors. This time, prosecutors claimed they had strong evidence, including testimonies from several victims. Epstein's arrest shocked the world because it showed that earlier legal deals had not ended the investigation completely. Authorities began examining his properties, searching for documents, photographs, and electronic evidence. Media coverage intensified and public interest grew rapidly. Many people hoped this new case would finally bring accountability and reveal the full truth about Epstein's alleged activities and connections. During the 2019 investigation, authorities focused heavily on Epstein's private island, often called Little St. James. Reports claimed that the island was used for secret gatherings involving influential guests. Law enforcement searched the island for potential evidence. Although many details remained confidential, the island became a symbol of secrecy and wealth connected to the case. The idea that illegal activities might have occurred in such isolated locations raised serious concerns about how difficult it can be to monitor crimes involving extremely wealthy individuals. The island quickly became one of the most discussed aspects of the scandal. Epstein's social connections became another major focus of public attention. Over the years, he was photographed with world leaders, royalty, and business executives. While many individuals denied any involvement in illegal activity, critics questioned whether Epstein used these connections to gain protection or credibility. Some people who had once associated with him later distanced themselves publicly. The presence of powerful names around Epstein fueled conspiracy theories and public debate. However, investigators emphasized that being socially connected did not automatically prove wrongdoing. Authorities stressed the importance of focusing only on verified evidence and legal findings. Victims' testimonies remained the strongest part of the case. Several survivors described how they were allegedly recruited through promises of money, jobs, or opportunities. Many reported feeling trapped and manipulated. Their courage in sharing painful experiences helped investigators build stronger cases. Support groups worked to provide emotional and legal assistance to survivors. These testimonies also helped society understand the psychological impact of exploitation. The survivors' voices became central to the movement demanding justice. Their stories showed how power imbalances can make it difficult for victims to escape harmful situations or report abuse. In August 2019, Epstein was found dead in his jail cell while awaiting trial. Authorities ruled his death as suicide, but the event created huge controversy. Many people questioned how such a high-profile prisoner could die under federal custody. Investigations later revealed serious failures in jail monitoring procedures. Guards reportedly failed to follow required safety checks. Epstein's death ended the possibility of a full trial, leaving many victims feeling robbed of justice. The sudden ending also increased conspiracy theories, with many questioning whether powerful individuals feared what Epstein might reveal during court proceedings. After Epstein's death, attention shifted toward individuals connected to him. Authorities began investigating whether others had assisted or participated in illegal activities. One of the most well-known cases involved Ghislaine Maxwell, a longtime associate of Epstein. Prosecutors accused her of helping recruit and groom victims. Maxwell denied the accusations but was later arrested and faced trial. Her case became another major chapter in the scandal. It showed that investigations were continuing even after Epstein's death. The trial also revealed new testimonies and details about how alleged recruitment networks may have operated. The Maxwell trial brought intense media coverage and public attention. Several witnesses described how they were introduced to Epstein through Maxwell. Prosecutors argued that she played a key role in building trust with victims before exploitation occurred. The defense argued against these claims, creating a complex legal battle. Eventually, Maxwell was convicted on several charges related to trafficking minors. The verdict was seen by many victims as a partial justice. However, many observers still believed that more individuals connected to Epstein should be investigated to uncover the full scope of the alleged network. Another controversial part of the Epstein scandal involves sealed court documents, often referred to as Epstein files. These files reportedly contain names, testimonies, and evidence gathered during investigations. Some documents have been released publicly, while others remain confidential. The release of certain files sparked global attention because they included references to well-known public figures. However, legal experts warned that appearing in documents does not necessarily prove involvement in crimes. Courts often seal documents to protect victims and ensure fair trials. The debate about transparency versus privacy remains a major issue surrounding these files. Many activists and journalists argue that full disclosure of Epstein-related files is necessary for public accountability. They believe releasing more information could reveal whether powerful individuals avoided investigation. Others argue that releasing unverified names could damage innocent reputations. This conflict highlights the challenges of balancing justice, transparency, and fairness. Governments and courts face pressure from the public and advocacy groups to handle the files responsibly. The situation shows how high-profile criminal cases can create ethical dilemmas involving privacy rights, public interest, and the protection of victims. Epstein's wealth played a huge role in shaping public perception of the scandal. Critics believe that money allowed him to hire powerful lawyers and influence social circles. Wealth often provides access to better legal resources, which can create uneven justice systems. This case raised questions about whether rich individuals receive special treatment. Legal scholars used the Epstein case to discuss inequality in law enforcement. Many advocacy groups pushed for reforms ensuring that wealth does not affect criminal investigations or sentencing decisions. The scandal became a symbol of concerns about fairness in modern legal systems. Another disturbing aspect of the case involved claims about how victims were recruited. Reports suggested that some victims were asked to bring other girls, creating a harmful cycle. This method, if proven, allowed exploitation networks to expand quickly. Experts explained that such recruitment tactics often involve emotional manipulation and financial pressure. Understanding these patterns helps law enforcement prevent similar crimes. The Epstein case highlighted the importance of educating young people about exploitation risks. Awareness campaigns increased after the scandal, aiming to help potential victims recognize dangerous situations earlier. The Epstein case also revealed weaknesses in how institutions handle allegations against influential individuals. Some critics argued that earlier complaints were not taken seriously enough. Advocacy groups stressed the importance of believing victims and conducting thorough investigations. Law enforcement agencies began reviewing policies to ensure future cases receive proper attention. Training programs were introduced to help officers handle sensitive abuse cases more carefully. The scandal encouraged discussions about systemic failures in protecting vulnerable individuals. Many organizations used the case as an example while pushing for stronger legal protections. Social media played a huge role in spreading awareness about Epstein. Platforms allowed survivors, journalists, and activists to share information quickly. Public pressure from online discussions influenced political leaders to demand transparency. However, social media also spread rumors and conspiracy theories. False information sometimes created confusion and distracted from verified facts. Experts warned about the dangers of relying on unconfirmed online claims. Despite these challenges, social media helped maintain global attention on the scandal. It allowed victims to feel supported by communities demanding justice and accountability. Political reactions to the Epstein scandal varied widely. Some leaders called for independent investigations, while others avoided discussing the case publicly. The scandal created debates about corruption, influence, and legal transparency. Congressional committees in the United States examined how earlier legal agreements were made. These hearings aimed to understand whether prosecutors followed proper procedures. The political dimension of the scandal showed how criminal cases involving powerful individuals can become national issues. Public trust in political and legal institutions was deeply affected by the controversies surrounding Epstein. International attention surrounded the Epstein case because many alleged activities involved global travel. Reports suggested that victims and associates traveled across multiple countries. This raised concerns about international trafficking networks. Law enforcement agencies from different nations began cooperating to investigate possible cross-border crimes. The case highlighted the complexity of global investigations, especially when wealthy individuals own properties in multiple locations. International legal cooperation became a key discussion point. Experts emphasized that crimes involving trafficking require strong partnerships between countries to ensure effective justice. Epstein's private jets became another symbol of the scandal. Flight logs reportedly recorded passengers traveling to his properties. These logs gained public attention when parts were released during legal proceedings. Media outlets analyzed the records, searching for connections between Epstein and prominent individuals. However, experts reminded the public that flight records only show travel, not criminal involvement. Misinterpretation of such documents created legal and ethical concerns. The flight logs demonstrated how evidence can be easily misunderstood by the public when complex legal details are involved. The scandal also exposed how victims often struggle for years before receiving recognition. Many survivors said they faced disbelief, fear, and emotional trauma. Legal battles can take decades, especially when powerful defendants are involved. The Epstein case encouraged support organizations to improve survivor assistance programs. Therapy, legal support, and public advocacy became more available after the scandal. Survivors' courage inspired global movements encouraging victims of abuse to speak out. Their testimonies changed public attitudes toward believing survivors and demanding stronger protections. Financial investigations into Epstein's wealth also raised many questions. Authorities examined his banking records, business partnerships, and charitable donations. Investigators attempted to determine whether his financial activities supported illegal operations. Financial transparency became a major topic of discussion. Governments began reviewing regulations for monitoring suspicious financial transactions. Experts argued that tracking money flow is crucial for preventing trafficking networks. Epstein's financial mystery remains partly unresolved as investigators continue examining how his wealth was built and managed. Epstein's charitable work also received scrutiny after his arrest. He donated to educational institutions and scientific research projects. Some organizations later returned his donations after learning about the accusations. This situation created debates about ethical fundraising. Universities and research groups began reviewing donor policies. They introduced stricter background checks on donors. The scandal showed how philanthropic contributions can sometimes hide controversial backgrounds. It encouraged institutions to balance financial support with ethical responsibility. The legal concept of non-prosecution agreements became widely discussed because of Epstein's 2008 plea deal. These agreements allow prosecutors to avoid formal trials under certain conditions. Critics argued that Epstein's agreement was unusually lenient. Legal experts reviewed how such deals are negotiated and approved. The case led to calls for reforms ensuring fairness and transparency. Victims' rights organizations demanded stronger laws requiring prosecutors to inform victims before making legal deals. The controversy changed how many legal professionals view non-prosecution agreements. Media documentaries and books about Epstein further expanded public awareness. These productions presented interviews, evidence summaries, and survivor testimonies. While they helped educate viewers, some critics warned about sensationalism. Complex legal cases can sometimes be simplified for entertainment purposes. Experts stressed the importance of responsible storytelling when discussing real victims. Despite criticism, documentaries played a major role in keeping public interest alive. They encouraged deeper discussions about exploitation, wealth inequality, and legal accountability. Epstein's relationships with powerful individuals remained one of the most controversial aspects of the scandal. Many famous names appeared in news reports, though most denied wrongdoing. Investigators carefully separated social connections from criminal accusations. This careful approach aimed to avoid unfair damage to reputations. However, public curiosity remained strong. The situation showed how scandals involving elite networks attract global attention. It also highlighted how influence and power can complicate criminal investigations. Public trust in the justice system suffered significantly after the Epstein scandal. Many citizens questioned whether legal systems treat powerful individuals differently. Advocacy groups used the case to demand stronger anti-trafficking laws. Governments faced pressure to increase funding for victim support programs. The scandal became a turning point for legal reform discussions. Many people believed that without public pressure, earlier investigations might never have reopened. Epstein's case also influenced corporate policies. Several companies introduced stricter rules about employee travel and client relationships. Organizations aimed to prevent involvement in controversial situations. Risk management programs expanded to include ethical behavior monitoring. Businesses realized that association with criminal scandals can damage reputations permanently. The case demonstrated how criminal investigations can affect industries far beyond legal systems. Educational programs about exploitation increased after Epstein's scandal gained global attention. Schools and youth organizations began teaching about grooming tactics and online safety. Experts emphasized early awareness as the best prevention method. Survivors participated in awareness campaigns, sharing experiences to educate others. These programs aimed to empower young people to recognize warning signs. The case helped society understand that exploitation often involves manipulation rather than obvious force. Legal experts studied Epstein's defense strategies to understand how high-profile defendants manage criminal cases. His legal team used complex negotiation tactics and procedural arguments. This raised discussions about whether wealthy defendants have unfair legal advantages. Law schools used the case to teach ethics and justice system challenges. The scandal became an educational example of how criminal defense operates in major cases. The Epstein scandal also influenced investigative journalism standards. Reporters faced challenges verifying sensitive information while protecting victims' privacy. News organizations developed stronger verification policies. The case highlighted journalism's role in exposing hidden crimes. Many investigative reporters received awards for their work uncovering Epstein-related information. The scandal demonstrated how persistent journalism can influence legal and political action. Victim compensation became another important topic after Epstein's death. A compensation fund was created to provide financial settlements to survivors. Many victims applied for compensation, receiving payments without lengthy court trials. While financial support helped survivors rebuild their lives, many said true justice required public accountability. The compensation program showed alternative ways of supporting victims when criminal trials cannot continue. Epstein's properties were eventually sold or repurposed after investigations ended. His private island was reportedly purchased by investors planning redevelopment. The transformation of these locations symbolized society's attempt to move forward from the scandal. However, for many survivors, these places remain painful reminders. The physical locations became historical symbols of the case's dark legacy. The scandal sparked debates about how society views powerful individuals. Many people began questioning celebrity culture and blind admiration for wealthy figures. Experts argued that influence should never prevent accountability. The Epstein case encouraged cultural reflection about ethics, power, and responsibility. Public awareness campaigns stressed the importance of questioning authority and protecting vulnerable communities. Legal reforms inspired by Epstein's case continue developing. Several states introduced stronger trafficking laws and extended time limits for victims to file cases. These reforms aim to give survivors more opportunities to seek justice. Lawmakers used lessons from Epstein's case to design better protection systems. The legal impact of the scandal may influence justice policies for decades. International organizations studying trafficking used Epstein's case to highlight global exploitation risks. Research programs examined how wealth and influence can hide criminal networks. Policy experts proposed stronger global monitoring systems. The scandal became a case study for understanding modern trafficking patterns. It helped governments improve cooperation strategies. Despite years of investigation, many questions about Epstein remain unanswered. Some files remain sealed, and investigations into possible associates continue. Survivors and advocacy groups still demand full transparency. The case reminds society that justice processes can be slow and complicated. Public interest remains strong as new information occasionally emerges. Epstein's scandal stands as one of America's most disturbing criminal controversies involving wealth, power, and exploitation. It exposed failures in legal systems, social institutions, and public accountability. Survivors' courage brought global awareness to trafficking issues. The case continues influencing legal reforms, journalism, and public attitudes towards justice. While Epstein himself never faced full trial, his scandal reshaped conversations about power and responsibility. The story remains a warning about how influence can hide wrongdoing and why transparency and strong legal systems are necessary to protect vulnerable individuals in society.